When I'm out along the rails, I'm usually moving around from location to location to seek out what trains are on the move. My days of picking a spot and sitting there for hours on end have long passed. But every now and then I make an exception depending on the spot. And one of those spots is what the railway calls Wilson's Alley, right here in the heart of Shreveport, Louisiana. Not only does this spot see decent traffic volumes from both Union Pacific and CPKC, but there is a large amount of history here that often flies under people's radar. The sun is rising and beginning to cast light onto the alley, and we get our first train of the video. This is a Union Pacific rock train that originated out of Malvern, Arkansas, and is bound for what I think Nacogdoches, Texas. The vast majority of UP traffic you'll find here is southbound traffic coming from the Pine Bluff subdivision. From a little town called Louisville, Arkansas, just outside of Texarkana, any trains that have work to do in Shreveport will diverge off of the Pine Bluff sub and utilize the fittingly named Shreveport sub to work their way down to the city. This is not to be confused with Canadian Pacific Kansas City Shreveport sub, which runs north out of the city to Heavener, Oklahoma, where trains battle the harsh grades of the Ouachita Mountains. Literally minutes after our rock train cleared through the alley, we got some action from the CPKC. Daily intermodal stack train I-168 is seen here eastbound and down, making way for the Meridian Speedway corridor with containers bound for the massive facilities of Atlanta, Georgia. With a gap in traffic, let's take a dive into some of the history here. While driving by on I-20 or over the alley on Common Street, it's easy to miss the obscure remnants of Shreveport's once proud Union Station. The structure is long gone and has faded into history to most of the residents of the city, but for those of us looking out, you can still find signs of the station. As you can see, the outlines of the passenger platforms and tracks are still visible. Union Station's rails extended right into where Wilson's Alley sits now. During its peak traffic, around 35 passenger trains a day of various railroads served Union Station. Built in 1897, Union was the oldest of 4 total stations built in the city, and it was built by the Kansas City, Shreveport, and Gulf Terminal Company. The structure stood out among the still developing downtown Shreveport thanks to its high watchtower. 8 tracks were laid within the depot's property, with 5 platforms where 4 of which were covered. I couldn't find much information on what tracks served what lines, if there even were any specifics at all, but I did read that track 1 was often used for express baggage and mail. Just beside Union was the old KCS Cafe, where passengers waiting for pickup could enjoy a meal with other passengers. The building still stands, and for years it sat abandoned to rot away, like many of the historic locations here in Shreveport, but a few years ago it was refurbished on the interior by some entrepreneurs that opened it as a restaurant. Unfortunately, it didn't stay in business for long, but it was nice to see that some people still saw use of the old cafe, and who knows, maybe one day it'll be used once more for some type of purpose. The Kansas City Southern, Texas and Pacific, Illinois Central, Southern Pacific, and Cotton Belt all had trains scheduled through Union. The Kansas City Southern got access to the station in 1909 and would eventually become the owner of the station. Fittingly, KCS had the largest amount of traffic through here. Alongside the pride of the railway known as the iconic Southern Belle, the Flying Crow, the Shreveporter, the Hustler, and a pair of KCS local trains would utilize Union. Other notable passenger trains would include the Texas and Pacific Louisiana Eagle service, along with the Illinois Central Southwest service, which ran to Meridian, Mississippi to link up with the Southern Railway's Pelican. Only local service was brought in from Southern Pacific or the Cotton Belt. After the peak of train traffic arrived in the years following the Great War, the volume would only decrease as time went on. The new interstate systems and air travel had caused massive blows to railroad passenger numbers in Shreveport, just like the rest of the United States. November 2nd, 1969, KCS Southern Belle Train No. 1 made its final run in the Union Station, and it would be the very last train through there. Following that, the station would close its doors, and less than a week later, the structure would catch fire and burn to the ground. With most of the remnants being cleared, all that remains now is what you've seen. The steps leading up to its entrance, concrete foundations, a little bit of rail, and a slight bit of floor tiles. Standing where once the track lied, we catch CPKC I-166, another intermodal bound for Atlanta. Another afternoon after work, I would spend about an hour in Wilson's Alley for some more footage for this very video, and I was lucky enough to catch a pair of mixed freights. It's also worth noting that BNSF coal traffic utilizes Main 3 to hand trains from CPKC to BNSF crews who utilize UP traffic rights to return to home rails in Tenaha, Texas. CPKC Manifest M266 is seen here cruising through the alley as it's on its final stretch of its journey. The trio of Southern Belle motors have a clear shot all the way into the yard where the train will terminate. One more manifest before we wrap things up. This is a Union Pacific southbound with a plentiful amount of power and a Canadian National Tier 4 GEVO dead in tow. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this video overviewing Wilson's Alley. It is one of the best spots to capture a decent bit of rail action, but I do have to warn you to keep your head on a swivel here. The state of downtown Shreveport is awful with the homeless population, and unfortunately, I don't really see it getting any better. But with all that aside, until the next video, I'll be seeing you somewhere out there along the rails, and as always, my friends, thanks for watching.